Shalom, everybody. So how many types of anti-Semites can be identified? I started that list a little while ago, and I'm going to continue it today and finish it. So in this broadcast, I will help you figure out the rest of them. I'm Olivier Melnick, helping you fight the new anti-Semitism. So if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe and give us a thumbs up and hit the notification bell. So we're going to continue talking today about anti-Semites coming in different shapes, sizes, and colors. A while ago, I started that list of all the different types of anti-Semites, and I want to continue the list in the second part here. Let us remember that anti-Semitism cannot be fully understood without the spiritual component that allowed it to persist through the centuries. It is a creation of Satan to eradicate Israel and all the Jewish people. And Satan is very creative. He's as creative as he is hateful. He has managed to summon Jew hatred from so many people and people groups around the world and organizations over the ages. It's amazing. So it really helps to identify all the different types of anti-Semites that one can run into. And remember, some of them might be harder to identify because of how devious Satan is at disguising the hatred and making it look like social justice. In a day and age when social justice is so attractive to so many people, people will jump on the anti-Semitism bandwagon thinking that they're doing a great deed, social justice deed, when in fact it's the opposite. So, who are these various anti-Semites? Let us continue our list with a few more, and again in no particular order, keeping in mind that some of the various characteristics might intersect, and some people might display several of them all at once. Additionally, because of Satan's creative hatred and continued subcontracting of his hatred to many people, the list might keep growing. But for right now, let's finish the list I have. So next is the boycott anti-Semite. The boycott of Israel and Israeli goods and personalities was revived in 2005 by Mahmoud Abbas and Omar Barghouti, who repurposed the South African apartheid definition to fit the Palestinian narrative. Fighting real apartheid with a boycott made sense, and the concept of a boycott isn't bad in and of itself, but the BDS movement, boycott, divestment, and sanction, is built on an entirely false premise. People around the globe have bought into BDS and are promoting it blindly without checking the facts. The boycott anti-Semite will almost always claim that he or she is anti-Israel or anti-Zionist, but not anti-Semitic. This is another case of trying to hide Jew hatred under a thin veneer of social justice. Next one is the neo-Nazi anti-Semite. The Nazi regime left a scar that will never disappear. So much so that after World War II, most people believe that the new Jewish motto, "Never Again," really meant something. To this day, it is very unpopular to join the ranks of any neo-Nazi group. They only exist on the fringe and do not constitute a very serious threat. This being said, they can still be found in several countries, especially in Europe. They espouse a new brand of Hitlerian ideology and adhere to all the anti-Semitic tropes and blood libels in the book. Next, you have the coward anti-Semite. For the better part of 2022, and even a little bit before, various anti-Semitic flyers have been found in multiple U.S. states in residential neighborhoods. The flyers accuse the Jewish people of various ills such as controlling the world, the banks, Hollywood, and even the coronavirus. Even though the flyers seem to all be connected to the same internet site known as goyimtv.tv, there is a certain amount of cowardice in the way they are placed on private residential properties at night. Next is the leftist anti-Semite. In recent years, anti-Semitism has been heavily promoted by the left. While it is important to recognize that anti-Semitism currently comes from the left, the right, and just about any other political and ideological factions out there, the left is particularly active in denigrating Israel. What is so ludicrous is that The liberal left, for which many Jews vote for to this day, is promoting anti-Israel agenda and a pro-Palestinian narrative. Even radical Islam and the liberal left agree on the destruction of Israel and the Jewish people, when ideologically they agree on nothing else, being on two opposite sides of the spectrum. Yet we all know that, quote unquote, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Next is the social media anti-Semite. The advent of the internet changed the way we communicate and consume information and data forever. There is nothing that cannot be shared almost instantly and globally. This too is an aspect of our civilization that is neutral in and of itself. But again, fallen into the wrong hands, the internet can become a vile and even lethal weapon. Beyond the internet is the web of social media networks. These networks have been overwhelmingly used by Jew haters. Sadly, when many people get penalized for speaking the truth and being perceived as divisive and racist, anti-Semites the world around seem to have an open platform with almost no censorship. Then, I know it sounds like an oxymoron, you have the Jewish anti-Semite. Well, Jewish anti-Semitism should be an oxymoron. It does exist. It exists on an individual level with liberal Jews who boldly promote Holocaust denial and Israeli colonization and occupation of Palestine. Honestly, it is so shameful. There are also Jewish religious groups like Neturei Karta, meaning guardians of the city, who have opposed Zionism since the late 1890s. No, 1890s, sorry. They even had a conference in Iran. Now, groups such as the International Jewish Anti-Zionist Network, while being fringe groups, still play a role in the denigration of Israel and the Jewish people. Their voice helps to embolden the more aggressive anti-Semites of the world. One more for you, the isolated anti-Semite. Probably the most puzzling anti-Semite of them, of all of them, is the isolated anti-Semite. It is the person who hates Jews openly and yet has never met one in their life. All the other racists base their dislikes of a particular people group or ethnic community on experience and interaction, not that it would ever justify such feelings. For the isolated anti-Semite, indoctrination against the Jews based on more than 2,000 years of libels and lies is all that they need. How can one say they hate someone without having ever met them? Shows the irrationality of anti-Semitism. So, that's my list. What do all these types of people have in common, in spite of their various approaches to the subject of anti-Semitism? Well, for starters, they are all ignoring facts to come to their conclusions. Then they are promoting lies knowingly. They do not accept correction easily, if at all. They are willing to join arms with the enemies, with enemies for the sake of their common agenda. And they are believing the most irrational stories and see them as being rational. So, friends, from a biblical perspective, it is rather obvious that they have chosen their side. They take the side of the enemy of God, Satan, who hates what God loves and loves what God hates. Now, I am not implying that all anti-Semites are demon-possessed, although some of them might be. But I'm saying that they are, at the very least, allowing Satan to influence them. He is the only being crafty enough to make the irrational look and sound rational. He knows that Israel is the key player in the second coming of the Messiah, which also spells his final demise. So he has done everything to stop that, or at least postpone it. And he continues to do things to postpone it. See, here's my definition of anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is the irrational and satanic hatred of the Jewish people in Israel, characterized by thoughts, words, and or deeds against them. Friends, there is no room for Christians or people of goodwill in that definition. Period. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe. And until next time, shalom and be blessed.